Hare Krishna everyone. Welcome to the day 10 of the Krishna book. Hope you have all had a blissful weekend. And let's start another new week with our bright hopes for a healthy and happy world and content people with nice desires living in it. Last Friday we finished when we were discussing when Lord Krishna appeared before Devaki mother. He appeared with 4 arms and all the opulences of as Bhagwan. And so Mother Devaki requests Krishna to please come like a childlike form so it wouldn't bewilder Kamsa. And now Krishna was telling both Devaki and Vasudev how they did lots of penances and austerities in their previous life as Sutapa and Prishni, and they were given the benediction. This was at the time when Brahma was desiring to increase the population of this world, and then both of them in their past life as Sutapa and Prishni got the benediction to have Krishna as their son. And now we continue. Although you saw me personally, instead of asking for your complete liberation from material bondage, under the influence of my energy, you asked me to be your son. In other words, to appear in the material world, the Lord selected his mother and father, namely Prishni and Sutapa, respectively. Whenever the Lord comes as a human being, he must have a mother and a father. So he selected Prishni and Sutapa perpetually as his mother and father, and on account of this, neither Prishni nor Sutapa could ask the Lord for liberation. Liberation is not so important as the transcendental loving service of the Lord. The Lord could have awarded Prishni and Sutapa immediate liberation, but he preferred to keep them within this material world for his different appearances, as will be explained in the following verses. On receiving the benediction from the Lord to become his father and mother, Sutapa and Prishni retired from the activities of austerity and lived as husband and wife in order to beget a child who was the Lord himself. In due course of time, Prishni became pregnant and gave birth to the child. The Lord spoke to Devaki and Vasudev. At the time, my name was Prishni Garbha. In the next millennium, you took birth as Aditi and Kashyap, and I became your child of the name Upendra. At the time, my form was just like a dwarf, and for this reason, I was known as Vamandeva. We know Vamandeva was the 5th avatar of Krishna. 4th was Nrsingadev, Lord Nrsingadev, whose appearance day we celebrated last week. I gave you the benediction that I would take birth as your son 3 times. I repeat, 3 times. The first time I was known as Prishni Garbha, born of Prishni and Sutapa. In the next birth I was Upendra, born of Aditi and Kashyap. And now for the 3rd time I am born as Krishna from you Devaki and Vasudev. I have appeared in this Vishnu form just to convince you that I am the same Supreme Personality of Godhead, again taking birth. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I could have appeared just like an ordinary child, but in that way you would not have believed that the Supreme Personality of Godhead had taken birth in your womb. My dear father and mother, you have therefore raised me many times as your child, with great affection and love, and I am therefore very much pleased and obliged to you. And I assure you, at this time you shall go back home, back to Godhead on account of your perfection in your mission. I know you are very concerned about me and afraid of Kamsa. Therefore, I order you to take me immediately to Gokul and exchange me for the daughter who has been just born to Yashoda. Having spoken thus to his father and mother, the Lord turned himself into an ordinary child in their presence and remained silent. So he became a child like our Supreme Personality of Godhead and changed from the four-armed form to a baby-like form. Being ordered by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudev prepared to take his son from the delivery room, and exactly at that time a daughter was born to Nanda and Yashoda. She was Yogmaya, the internal potency of the Lord. The internal potency, the internal Shakti of the Lord. By the influence of this internal potency, Yogmaya, all the residents of Kamsa's palace, especially the doorkeepers, were overwhelmed, and with deep sleep and all the palace doors opened, although they were barred and shackled with iron chains. The night was very dark, but as soon as Vasudev took Krishna on his lap and went out, he could see everything just as in the sunlight. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that Krishna is just like sunlight, and that wherever there is Krishna, the illusory energy which is compared to darkness cannot remain. When Vasudeva was carrying Krishna, the darkness of the night disappeared. All the prison doors automatically opened. At the same time, there was a thunder in the sky and severe rainfall. While Vasudeva was carrying his son Krishna in the falling rain, Lord Shesha, which was our Lakshmanji in Treta Yuga, and it will be Balramji in the Dwapar, the older brother of Krishna, in the shape of the serpent, spread his hood over the head of the Vasudeva so that he would not be hampered by the rainfall. Vasudeva came onto the bank of the Yamuna and saw that the water of the Yamuna was roaring with waves and that the whole span was full of foam. Still in that furious feature, the river gave passage to Vasudeva to cross, just as the great Indian Ocean gave a path to Lord Rama when he was bridging over the gulf. Vasudeva crossed the river Yamuna. On the other side, he went to the palace of Nanda Maharaj, situated in Gokul, where he saw that all the cowherd men were fast asleep. He took the opportunity to silently enter the house of Yashoda, and without difficulty he exchanged his son with the baby girl newly born there. Then, after entering the house very silently and exchanging the boy with the girl, he returned to the prison of Kamsa and silently put the girl on the lap of Devaki. He again clamped the shackles on himself so that Kamsa could not recognize that so many things had happened. Mother Yashoda understood that a child had been born to her, but because she was very tired from the labor of childbirth, she fell fast asleep. When she woke up, she could not remember whether she had given birth to a male or a female child. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport, or the Tatparya of the third chapter of the Krishna, the birth of Lord Krishna. Now we start chapter 4. Kamsa begins his persecutions. After Vasudeva adjusted things as they had been before, he carried Krishna to Gokul. All the doors and gates became similarly closed. The gatekeepers awoke and heard the newborn child carrying Kamsa was waiting to hear the news of the child's birth. And the gatekeepers immediately approached him and informed him that the child was born. At that time, Kamsa got up from his bed very quickly and exclaimed, "Now the cruel death of my life is born." Kamsa became perplexed. Now that the death was approaching and his hair scattered, immediately he proceeded towards the palace where the child was born. Devaki, on seeing her brother approaching, prayed in a very meek attitude to Kamsa, "My dear brother, please do not kill this female child. I promise that this child will be the wife of your son. Therefore, don't kill her. You are not to be killed by any female child. That was the prophecy. You are to be killed by a male child, so please do not kill." kill her. My dear brother, you have killed so many of my children who were just born shining like the sun. That is not your fault. You have been advised by demoniac friends to kill my children, but now I beg you. Kamsa was so cruel that he did not listen to the pitiful prayers of his sister Devaki. He forcibly grabbed the newborn child to rebuke his sister and attempted to dash her on the stone mercilessly. This is a graphic example of a cruel demon who could sacrifice all relationships for the sake of personal gratification. But immediately the child slipped out of his hands, went up into the sky, and appeared with 8 arms as the younger sister of Vishnu. She was decorated with the nice garments and flower garlands and ornaments in her 8 hands, as she held a bow, lance, arrows, sword, conch shell, disc, club, and shield. The 8 shastras which we see in Durga Ma's hands. Seeing the appearance of the child who was actually the goddess Durga, all the demigods from different planets like Siddha Loka, Charan Loka, Gandharva Loka, Apsara Loka, Kinnara Loka, and Uraga Loka presented her with various articles and began to offer their respective prayers. From above, the goddess addressed Kamsa, "You rascal! How can you kill me? The child who will kill you is already born before me somewhere within this world. Don't be so cruel to your poor sister." After this appearance, Goddess Durga became known by various names in various parts of the world. After hearing these words, Kamsa became very overwhelmed with fear. Out of pity, he immediately released Vasudeva and Devaki from the bondage of their shackles and very politely began to address them. He said, "My dear sister and brother-in-law, I have acted just like a demon in killing my own nephews, your children, and thereby I have given up all the consideration of our intimate relationship. I do not know what will be the result of these envious acts of mine. Probably I shall be sent to the hell where killers of Brahmanas go. I am surprised, however, that the celestial prophecy has not come true. False propaganda is not found only in human society. Now it appears that even the celestial denizens speak lies. Because I believed in the words of the celestial denizens, I have committed so many sins by killing the children of my sister. My dear Vasudeva and Devaki, you are both very great souls. I have nothing to instruct you, but still I request you not to be sorry for the death of the children. Every one of us is under the control of superior power, and that superior power does not allow us to remain together. We are bound to be separated from our friends and relatives in due course of time. But we must know for certain that even after the disappearance of the different material bodies, the soul remains intact eternally. For example, there are many pots made of earthly clay. They are prepared and also broken. But in spite of this, the earth remains as it is perpetually. Similarly, the bodies of the soul under different conditions are made and destroyed, but the spirit soul remains eternally. So there is nothing to lament over. Therefore, everyone should understand that this material body is different from the spirit soul, and so long as one does not come to that understanding, he is sure to accept the process of transmigration from one body to another. My dear sister Devaki, you are so gentle and kind. Please excuse me. Don't be aggrieved by the death of your children, which I have caused. Actually, this was not done by me, because all of these are predestined activities. One has to act according to the predestined plan, unwillingly, even unwillingly. People misunderstand that with the end of the body, the self dies, or they think that one can kill another living entity. All these misconceptions oblige one to accept the conditions of material existence. In other words, as long as one is not firmly convinced of the eternality of the soul, one is subjected to the tribulation of being killer and killed. My dear sister Devaki and brother-in-law Vasudev, kindly excuse the atrocities I have committed against you. I am very poor-hearted and you are so great-hearted. So take compassion upon me and excuse me. So we will continue our katha tomorrow from here. So these were mighty words coming out of Kamsa's mouth. It is also all the kindness of Krishna, we can say. And we shall continue it tomorrow. Wish you all a very blissful day, and hope you are trying to recollect all the nice memories of your dad, Paula Mataji. I will call you a few days' time. I thought it was too soon. I wish you all a very, very happy week. Hari Bol.